Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here and welcome back to another Division video. Today is a very exciting day. I thought today was just going to be a regular Monday, but the guys sprung a surprise special report on us. It has just finished. They're actually about to jump over and start showing some gameplay, but the special report spoke about survival. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm going to try and recap as much information as possible. There will of course be more shared throughout the day, so there will likely be a number of different videos on the channel today, so do keep it locked. But the long and short of it is, survival is coming to the PTS today. There's no current launch date for survival because of course they want to test it first, but if you have access to the PTS, then it will be available later on this afternoon. Now again, apologies to console players, they still have not been able to put the PTS on console just yet, so for the time being, you're going to have to kind of watch gameplay. I will be streaming at some point later on today, so if you do want to see what survival is like, you can tune into my Twitch stream, but for those of you guys that want all the information, then this is what you need to know. So if you do enjoy this, like would be super appreciated, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. But let's get started. So first things first, survival is basically Battle Royale for The Division, which is something I have been asking for a very long time. However, for those of you guys that have alarm bells ringing right now, there is a PvP and a PvE option. But let's start from the top. So in survival, New York is basically preparing for a brutal snowstorm. Everyone's hunkering down, trying to, get ready for it and whatnot, store up their rations, etc. And they learn that there are antivirals in the Dark Zone that may well help with the virus. So the Division dispatches a group of agents to the Dark Zone. You fly in by helicopter, and if the beginning of the base game tells you anything, then helicopters are never a good idea. Your helicopter crashes, you're left alone, without gear, without your team, in bad shape, and this is basically the beginning of survival. Now, survival is a multiplayer mode. You will actually select it, and you will go into it via matchmaking. It supports a total of 24 players, including yourself. Matches will last roughly 2 hours, depending on how long you stay alive, if you kind of get to the very end. The goal is to get to the Dark Zone, find the antivirals, and then extract. However, the cool thing is that this uses the entire map, not just the Dark Zone. You start on the very outskirts of the entire world map, and you then gradually work your way in, with the end goal being to get into the Dark Zone, find the antivirals, and extract. Now, you'll begin survival game modes with very basic gear. You'll have green gear, you'll have a pistol, and that is it. You'll have no skills, no medkits, nothing. So for those of you guys that maybe haven't necessarily leveled up on PC or anything like that, you do not need to worry. This is a separate multiplayer mode, so they're not taking the gear off of your existing character. It's just a standalone mode. So if you're a player that maybe hasn't done PvP before because you don't have a finely min-maxed build, this is perfect because every single person will start on an even footing. Now, I mentioned before, there are two different modes. There's a PvP option, which is the classic option. However, if you don't want a PvP and you do still want to experience survival, there is a PvE option. You will still see people, you'll still be able to team up and whatnot, but you will not be able to kill players. Now, during gameplay, there are going to be a lot of new mechanics you are going to have to understand. First things first, your character is cold, they're hungry, they're dehydrated, and they are sick. Not with the green virus, but they are sick with some other kind of virus. So you're going to have to manage these throughout the game. That's also partly why there's effectively a time limit on the game itself, because if you don't get the antivirals, you don't kind of cure this, then you will die. However, throughout the game mode, you can find medicine and painkillers, and these will slow down the disease. Hunger will impact your health regen. If you're dehydrated, this will affect your vision. If you are cold, this will of course affect other things. And all vanity items in-game have an additional layer. They're no longer just vanity items, they actually have a cold protection rating. So putting on things like a pom-pom beanie, or a flappy hat, or a big jacket, they're actually going to help you deal with the cold. Also, all the apartments located around the world that we, used to go in just in single player and loot things and, get our cosmetic items, they will have a much greater use in survival. They will not only contain items, like the cosmetic items that we can use to help survive the cold, but they can also be used as shelters. Plus, you might find fire barrels around that you can light, and you can use them to keep yourself warm. So that's going to be a constant thing you're going to need to maintain. You can also craft things. Crafting is in here as well. You will find crafting benches in hideouts, which are similar to kind of safe rooms. They're located around the world, different locations, so you wouldn't have found them before. But when you do find them, they have a crafting bench, and you can craft a variety of different things there. Now, as mentioned, with regards to when you start the game, you're going to start on the outer kind of perimeter of the big world map. People will start within relative proximity to each other, so you will still see people, but much like any Battle Royale game, while you do still start close, you are going to probably want to run the opposite direction to begin with because you can't trust people. So you run away, you go and do stuff, you start crafting, you start finding things. On the outer edges of the map, the enemies will be weaker, and the closer you get to the centre, the stronger they will be. Now, do bear in mind at the very beginning of the game, you'll have basic gear, you have a pistol and green gear, so don't just go rushing in like you would with your current character. With a finely tuned min-max build, you're actually going to have to play this tactically. But of course, if you do fight enemies and you kill them, they do drop gear, and that can of course help make you stronger. So it's going to be in your interest to, you know, like work your way around the perimeter, getting geared up, moving slowly closer, so it's not going to be something where you just make a beeline for the center and just, you know, skip all the enemies. So that's going to be super important, but if you die in your survival session, it is game over. You can be revived if someone's kind enough, or if you have a medkit, then you can use that from a down state to get yourself back up, but medkits are much rarer in survival. But like any BR game, if you die, then you're out. You simply go back in, you find a new match, and you start all over. You can also find sealed caches when you're playing in survival, and these will go into your loot that you can extract when you get to the center of the dark zone. Along with extracting the antivirals, you'll also be able to extract your sealed caches, and then once you have extracted them, they will then go back to the main game, and you can actually use them to benefit your main character. So this mode, while it is separate to the main game, and doesn't necessarily require your main character's progression, you can still earn things for the main game. And even if you die and you don't necessarily win, you're not necessarily number one, or you don't get to the central extraction, you will still get points and rewards at the end, but these are tiered, so if you're, you know, like tier 5, you'll get the best rewards, you'll get experience, you'll get loot, etc. But if you are lower, you'll still gain something from it. Also, important one, you don't have to be level 30 to play survival, so if some of you guys have moved over to PC in order to try and play the PTS, then provided you've accessed the base operations, you can play survival, and also because you gain experience at the end of like post-match rewards and whatnot, then you can actually use survival to level your character, which is kind of cool. It's also worth noting that at the beginning you don't start with skills either, so you start with basic gear, a pistol, you know, no medkits, no food, no cosmetics, and no skills. Skills are also something else that you have to craft at the crafting benches, so things like first aid skill, you know, turrets or whatever. I don't really know what skills are available in there, but regardless, skills have to be crafted. Now the UI itself in the game is also going to be very different. There's going to be no mini-map. It'll be a much lighter UI, so it's going to be much more focused on, you know, looking at your environment, surviving, doing everything like that, and not necessarily just making your way towards like the predetermined marker. Also, if players do start fighting, you will get a kind of a warning, you'll get like a marker and whatnot that you can kind of go towards, so if someone is in trouble you can help them, or alternatively you can just wait for them to die and steal their loot. It is up to you, but there are options there. But with regards to, you know, PvP side of things, there isn't a direct rogue mechanic, so you won't necessarily go rogue because it's just the nature of survival. If you're killing people, it's just part of the game mode, you're not actually going to be flagged as a result of that. Now that is currently, based on the information we got from the very first special report, everything you need to know. Now at the time of making this video, they are getting ready to do a stream where they're going to show us some gameplay. As mentioned, the PTS itself will be going live later this afternoon, so once it is live I'll also be streaming, but for the time being, that is a brief intro to what survival is. It's effectively Battle Royale in the Division, which is super, super exciting. I'm a massive fan of Battle Royale. I play a lot of Arma 3 Battle Royale. Some of you guys might play games like H1Z1 or DayZ or other games like that. This is going to be the Division's take on it. It's something that I've been asking for since basically the alpha, so it's really nice to actually see them implement it, so that's really cool. However, there is one more thing. On top of survival hitting the PTS, they're also going to be adding the 1.5 stuff to the PTS. Now, there'll be more details on that in patch notes coming soon, but a few things you guys are going to want to know. 1.5 will include a new world tier 5. It will include new weapons, new named weapons, and for the first time ever, new named gear pieces. Now, named gear pieces are different to gear sets. A named gear piece is the gear equivalent of a named weapon. So you've got things like Pakan, Caduceus, etc. You will have a named gear piece that would more than likely have special stats, special bonuses, something like that, and you would get that from a particular NPC. So it might well be you farm the NPC, you have a special named piece that has perks that you can't get anywhere else, and that is what makes it special. So they will also be 1.5, as will a new gear score. So all of that stuff, when the PTS goes live, is stuff you can test. So if you don't want to jump into survival to begin with, then you can test 1.5. Also, worth noting that if you don't have the season pass, you cannot play survival. Even in the PTS, survival still requires the season pass, and if you only recently bought it, i.e. like last week, then you might have to wait a couple of days for them to kind of re-import that and it to recognize, but regardless, that is what the PTS includes. 1.5 stuff and survival. Also, for those of you guys on Steam, the PTS isn't quite available just yet either, so those of us on Uplay, it's available right now. You can download the PTS. You can't play it just yet, but you can at least download the update, and hopefully within a couple of hours of this video going up, the PTS will be live. So, for the time being, that's it. If you guys have Twitter, I would recommend following me on there, because I will be tweeting out all the information, letting people know when it goes live. Also keep an eye on my Twitch, because I will be streaming later, but I will of course have more videos later on today with more information as and when they share it with us. So for the time being, thank you for watching. Get hyped. I'm super excited for this. But take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.